we actually study exogenous ketones in the context of a standard high carb diet.
Oh,
And we do
wow.
that with, like, in our rat and mouse studies, we give them, the 60, 70% diet that's carbohydrates, percent carbohydrates, and then we mix in exogenous ketones into that diet, or we do like a tube feeding. We will feed them every day, like in the morning, and we'll look at the effects. And the very first study that we did was a seizure study where animals were on a standard diet and high carbohydrate diet, and administering, oral administration of a ketone ester prior to a high concentration of oxygen, which would simulate like a very deep dive by a Navy SEAL, that community that uses a particular breathing apparatus with high oxygen. We found that just 30 minutes, it takes like a couple days, maybe even a week or more to get into therapeutic ketosis sometimes. In 30 minutes, you can achieve that with exogenous ketones. So that's really one of the benefits. So we have demonstrated the neuroprotective or brain-enhancing effects of exogenous ketones in the context of a standard high-carb diet. And my colleagues at Yale University incorporated a ketone ester into a standard diet and looked at various inflammatory markers, one being the NLRP3 inflammasome. It's like it's a complex, it's a molecule within cells within the body that when it's activated, it produces a lot of inflammation in the body. So the ketones have in part an effect at suppressing the activation of the NLRP3 inflammasome. So you are suppressing a driver of systemic inflammation, and the type of inflammation that's associated with autoimmune disorders or age-related chronic inflammation that a lot of people get.
Wow,
and
that's amazing, isn't it?
And that's just ketone supplements. Yeah. So the obvious experiment would be, or maybe to get optimal results, is to do some form of a modified ketogenic diet with ketone supplements.
Yeah.
And we've done a little bit of that and even published that, but that's on the frontier of doing multiple things in addition to ketone supplements. But yeah, the effects are pretty remarkable. Which
you have to be careful though when you first have them, don't you? You don't want to take too much at once.
Yeah,
well, you might have a bit of a social issue on your hands.
Exactly. So that's the case, with medium chain triglycerides. It's one of the side effects is that it can, go right through you. It can pass. You can give you diarrhea and loose stools. So you have to titrate the dosage over time, and then you can actually, tolerate more the more you take it. The better it works, and the easier you can tolerate it over time. And even the ketone salts that are on the market, especially the ketone salts for some of the products out there, can, because of the mineral load, the high amount of minerals, which can be beneficial in some ways, but it creates an osmotic shift in the gut where it pulls water into the gut. And you can have some loose stools. So you really have to, when you get these things, my recommendation is to, when you get a product, to do a half dose and try it at a half dose with lots of water, and even maybe a little bit of food to help you tolerate it. And then there's a couple products out there that irritate my stomach more than others, so I just stick to a few products that I've kind of vetted out and that work good for me.